So you want to know what the Southern Baptist Convention and all those churches did? Oh boy, God is going to, I don't even want to think about what God's going to do to all of them. But I do understand why Jesus made it a point to say that teachers that teach his word that are in the church, oh, they're going to be judged much more harshly, because he knew what was going to happen. So just like the left infiltrates, okay? So in the 80s is when a bunch of people got a hold. They've infiltrated these churches. So I was looking up, why did many of the Protestant and who's the other one? Baptist. Why did they merge? Why did these different denominations merge and then become the Southern Baptist Convention? Well, it was to pool resources, and because they shared the same doctrine, except the doctrine that they all share is wrong. The biggest thing where their heresy and where they're going to suffer God's wrath, really, they will, is because they cannot deny that life begins with breath. Again, I know I keep saying it, but it's like the biggest thing of all. I'm not trying to repeat myself. I'm sick of repeating but there's just, think about it. When you're talking literally about life, it doesn't matter what science says. It doesn't matter what matters what God says, because God created this place long before you and I were here. So when it comes to life, most especially, yeah, that you should be following the Bible. Charlie Kirk does not. Neither do any of these churches. But in order to do that, they had to twist God's word and say that no, life begins at conception. And so then what they did was they used the Psalm where, he's molded you. Yeah, molded you, formed you, weaved you, but doesn't say you're alive. That's how tricky they were. Because otherwise, if any of these people were actually reading the Bible, it's too undeniable. And I wouldn't have found it, but I was praying to God about it, because I thought, how does this ever get solved, God? How does it ever get solved, God, if we don't know what your word truly means? Because there's so many Christians that disagree with these churches about when life begins, because people just common sense say, no, this sells. And I don't care how mad Charlie Kirk gets about that. Charlie Kirk disgraces God's word so much that he has this whole 7 mountains thing. Yeah, let me show you. Charlie Kirk promotes the 7 mountains mandate, a philosophy that calls on Christians to gain influence and control in 7 key areas of society: family, religion, education, media, art, and entertainment, business, and government. This juvenile is 30 years old, okay? Somebody who should have some wisdom, and he has none. But because he allows himself, he's a whore for money. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just that's what he sold out for, okay? So look, when was Jesus about this? But they twist things. But all of these churches have done this. I mean, look at the Catholic Church. They create their own doctrines as time goes on. They've created a complete hierarchy that Jesus never wanted. Same with the Southern Baptist Convention. But they've gone even farther because they've merged a bunch of churches together. And whether these churches all meant to lead their parishioners, or I should say their congregations, astray, who knows? But it was said that in the 80s, a bunch of liberals, and it doesn't even matter if it was liberals, it's Marxists, but it said fundamentalists got a hold of the Southern Baptist Convention because they did used to allow women leadership, and it was then that they changed all the doctrine. It was then that they started saying that women had to graciously submit to their husbands, and fundamentalists also changed the denomination's confession of faith to require wives to submit graciously to their husbands, and promoted a theology of complementarianism, which limited women's leadership roles among women and children. Women were removed from teaching positions in seminaries and churches that ordained women faced expulsion from local associations. And overall, the takeover led to a sharp decline in opportunities for women in ministry with the Southern Baptist Convention, and reinforced a patriarchal structure in both church and family. Now, although Charlie Kirk has never come out, although it wouldn't surprise me if he does soon, and say that women shouldn't be in leadership position, you can see based on the way that he treats women and how disrespectful he is that I'm sure that he agrees with this, most especially since the evangelicals are tied to this. It's all the same teachings, but none of them, they're not about God's word. So whoever got in, whether you want to call them liberals or, far right, it's money that got in, okay, Marxists, that because they have some weird thing, like, because they're different denominations, that they do this whole, like, it's called a convention because they vote different people in. So since the 80s, these fundamentalists got in, and people say that they were liberals. Whether they were or not, who knows? The money behind it they don't care whether it's left ideology or right. All they care about is getting control. So understand what this is, what a disgrace the churches are. And this is what Kirk is up to. The core principle is that Christians should actively seek leadership and authority in these spheres to shape culture and restore what they see as Christian values in America. Kirk frames this as a spiritual and political mission, encouraging conservative Christians basically to accept the seven mountain model. So look, this has not, it's not even close to being biblical or about Jesus. But Kirk isn't going to stop because he's never been on the right side of it. If Republicans and conservatives want to make excuses for him, then fine, okay? I'm not going to, because it's very obvious what he's doing. Sadly, all of these churches, okay, whether they just went astray early on or somebody got who knows, okay? But they've all left the plantation of what Jesus was about in every way, from their completely ridiculous hierarchies to wanting to suppress women. And yet Jesus's life showed that he saw men and women as equal. It's just obvious. But there is this group, I don't think it matters whether they're on the right or the left, they just hate women. They do. Because the people that hate women, it serves them either way, whether you can't have abortions and you're forced to have children that, if you were raped and you're forced to have it. And some women do have it, so don't get me wrong, but some don't, and some don't feel guilty about it. I'm just telling you the truth, because sometimes the trauma of what's been done to them is too great. It's just, but God doesn't see it as a life. Understand that. I mean, most Christians won't. I think some Christians, I don't know how many they've gotten on board with that, but this is why they've been pushing that life begins at conception. It doesn't. It's not murder. It's not. I don't think we should be doing the third trimester abortions and stuff. No. But to call it murder, is the biggest game being played, especially by the right. Whether they're Marxists or not, it doesn't matter. They all, that right side is as dangerous as the left. And so these people need to be called out. Which is why I stitch a lot of Charlie, because regardless, because someday, even though I'm suppressed everywhere and have been for years now, someday Jesus will flip the tables. It doesn't matter what any president, even if presidents support it, Jesus will flip those tables, because Jesus will flip the tables to the people speaking the truth. So at least my videos will be out there, even if it's long after I'm gone, maybe, I don't know. So, because none of them are about Christian values. And so the reason abortion is more important to them than child abuse, and child abuse happens in all their churches, and trafficking, is because it's a political agenda. It is not about Jesus's word. So for the 30-year-old juvenile Charlie Kirk to run around and tell people how to fix government is, first of all, that's ludicrous on the face of it. He's 30 years old, okay? And if he wasn't such a tool, he should have more wisdom. But he has a handler, that's all. And that's why they picked him, because he at 18 or 16 he was good at giving speeches. So, who's going to turn down money like that when you're 18, right? Some good money behind you. And we don't know everything about him, but he is not on the right side. He is just the woke right. And someday the truth will come to light about him. But for those that can hear, please hear me. He is not None of these people have all left the plantation.